everyone. I'm here again with Brian Sanchez, and we're going to get an update on how the testosterone replacement therapy is going for Brian. We've talked about it a little bit, but it's kind of, it's people want to know what's happening, what to expect, and now we're relating that through Brian. So I'm on testosterone replacement therapy, and so I can relate to some of the things, but everyone's different. The process is going to be different for everyone on this, just like your diet, just like your exercise program. And I've learned that I'm not very smart, and people need to kind of figure things out for themselves. And that's what Brian's doing with his doctors on this. So thanks for being with us, Brian.
Hey, thank you. So, talking about working a program. So I'm in my 5th week now of my TRT program. I take testosterone replacement plus a couple other prescriptions with it. I take no human growth hormone and I take no steroids. It's simply testosterone that I'm using, and then a couple of things to counter, which based on my development now, and I'll talk about it in probably our next segment, what I'm going to talk to my doctors about removing, and I want to replace with vitamin-based protocol as opposed to prescription. But with that said,
natural stuff.
Yeah.
Right?
With that said, and that has to do with balancing estrogen, whether or not I'm having issues testicularly, if that's a word.
Yeah, there's natural
things like
you
that.
can take.
Yeah,
Let me just interject something right there, that what the objective of testosterone replacement is not to make it high. This is not a steroid cycle. The objective is to make it normal and ideal for the individual. So normal is not necessarily the best. You want ideal for the individual. And that's the process of hormone replacement or testosterone replacement, is to get those hormones ideal, not to make them high. It's not a steroid cycle. So you just want to kind of differentiate between that. So you were going to, I think, start talking about your body composition, what's happening in the five weeks.
So oddly enough, a little background on my thoughts with this. Working in this business, I thought I was going to work with a lot more men, and I laugh when I say that. I ended up, my client base on one-on-one was about 90% female, and a lot of the ladies were over 45 years old. So I worked with ladies for years that were going through transitions in life, and that's where it kind of got me into studying more and more about testosterone replacement, because as we get older, stuff depletes, and they were teaching me how things were affecting them in the whole living life realm, because their bodies were unbalanced. So my search is in that direction to find that balance. If you remember back to what we talked about in our first one, the biggest thing I wanted was relief of my anxiety. I suffer from anxiety, and it worked. Just so you know right now, Steve, I feel so mentally balanced right now, and I'm only in week 5. I can't say enough praises for that. It doesn't amp me up. I don't feel like running through walls. It's just, there's a sensation of calm over my body that I've never had. Well, I've had, but I'm going to say I haven't had in over a decade. And it's wonderful. And with that said, now body composition wise, so first 5 weeks, one of the things that I wanted to make sure I was working on is I'm on an intermittent eating system. I'm not dieting at all, but I'm eating certain foods in which I'm eating higher proteins. I pulled out almost all simple carbs unless there's something I forget about. I don't eat high sugars at all unless we're at some kind of venue somewhere and somebody's celebrating a birthday. I might sneak some cake or something like that. But I'm really sticking to a high protein diet on purpose. I'm attempting to lean my body out. But what's funny is when you talk about body composition, you can't confuse body fat with jumping on the scale. Now, I'm a heavy guy. And, when I started this journey, I was in the 290s. Right now, I'm at 270. That's a good body weight when it comes to dropping overall body weight. But I was doing that without testosterone. I started that about at the turn of the year. So I was about 6 weeks ahead on that eating system so that I could try to start controlling my weight and get down about 30 pounds. So I'm moving in that direction. And it was funny because I thought when I would get on testosterone, that might accelerate the weight loss, but it really hasn't. What it's done is it's changed my body. And what I find is the biggest change, and I'm taking measurements and I'm paying attention, is at the end of my first series of shots, and I just took my 5th week shot, my waistline's down by measurement 2.5 inches. Now, my overall body weight is only down, and give or take, flip a coin, plus or minus 2 or 3 pounds, depending on what scale you're using, only down 6 from the start of my program. So when I look at that, I kind of smile. Here's the key. My body is really effectively changing. I have to go put on a new belt or buy a new belt because I can't wear the pants I'm wearing without cinching it all the way in now. So my body's recomping right now. It's changing. I'm not putting any fat on, but the key is so I don't get hooked on chasing a scale. The doctors that I'm using have me using body scans, and I got to pay for this, but I'm using body scans and going solely on body fat lost or my body fat percentage. So when I go in at the end of my 12 weeks and go in for my next body scan, I should see a good result. The side benefit of that is the scale is showing me that I'm losing weight. I just don't know how much body fat I've lost yet, and I haven't calculated. So that's coming, and I'll share that information with you. But I'll tell you what, I feel like I did when I first started lifting and first started working out. Now, I never did use steroids, and I never did use testosterone. I always lifted naturally, but I was a power lifter. So it's not like I can't lift heavy weights, but my body now is taking a different path. And I got to pay attention to this because I can't hardly move my shoulders right now. They hurt real bad. My workout was so easy this week. It was silly. And when I was doing a regular seated military press workout this week, I felt like I had more power than I ever had in my life. I just had energy. And I completed all my sets at a weight that I've never done since I can't remember. Here's the thing. That was stupid of me because I can't hardly move my shoulders right now. And I have to remember that my goal was anxiety and body reduction, not trying to lift the heaviest thing in the gym anymore. My powerlifting days are over. You warned me about that, Steve. You told me this was going to happen, and I might, because I'd never used this stuff, I might get that sensation, and you reminded me to kind of stay my course. Well, he was right, Steve.
Yeah, I noticed that too with my program. And again, I want you guys, and look, if you guys out there listening to this is for ladies too, because ladies have the same symptom. And it's really important. Even for the women, it's harder to get the hormones right, especially as they get older. So this is not, don't look at the title and go, oh, that's a guy thing. No, it's probably more of a ladies thing. So pass this on to some of the ladies that, if you guys are listening to this, who are maybe having brain fog or a lack of energy, hard to get out of bed, and the symptoms that men have, the women have the same. And you've heard us say this, but I noticed also, and I have no ego anymore. I guys, and there's guys my age that lift twice what I do, who are even smaller than me. But I lost the ego a long time ago, probably 30 years ago. And but you do notice, and you gotta keep that in mind, that you don't want to overdo it, because again, and we're not saying this so all you young guys can go out there and get on testosterone, because we're not promoting that. We're promoting an ideal level to maximize your health. And that's why Brian's feeling the way he is, because his body's working better. Everything's starting to click. And when that happens, you're going to see improvements in your body. Your body likes it. So Tell me about your sleep.
So this is funny. So I had significant sleep apnea, and about 3 years ago, I started using a breathing device. Um, and the whole kind of fit, kind of fat theory. I was just too heavy, so I was using my machine, and that really did help me out to get better rest. But now that I've started this testosterone replacement, my sleep is deep. It's really hard to explain in the sense of even if it's just 4 to 5 hours, let's say, which I get way more than that. I get 6 to 7 generally. It's so deep I feel rested. It's crazy. I don't wake up feeling like I should sleep for another hour. I don't wake up thinking that I have to hit the snooze alarm, a dozen times. When my 4 o'clock alarm goes off so I can get down to the gym and work out with the guys I train with, I mean, I'm out of bed like it's nothing. I'm dressed, first cup of coffee, and I'm on my way to the gym. It's fantastic.
Yeah, it's exciting to hear the progress that you're making, and I see you in the gym and stuff, and you're just. I'm not going to say you're a different person, but I can see the excitement kind of dripping off of you.
Yeah,
So,
it's oozing, bro.
so some of the little tips that you'd give, and we'll get into the planning too, but don't freak out. Your body composition's probably going the right way when you start this. So don't freak out about the scale. It's not going down. But the idea is to maximize your health. Your sleep is incredible. And I can add to the whole workout thing. Don't let your ego come back from maybe when you were 30 years younger or 40 years younger in my case, when I really had a weightlifting ego. Keep that in check and let your body kind of increase physically at a moderate rate. So now, before we turn this on to talk, you were talking about planning, and I've noticed that too, because you have your prescriptions, and they expire. There's so much, and you need to kind of stay ahead of that. So, what advice would you have for people that are starting, and then things get to be renewed? Because you don't want to mess up what you're doing. As you start this, all you're doing is you're examining your body and seeing how it responds. So you don't want your system to get messed up. So talk about that.
So first of all, if for some reason you lose a week in your program when it comes to the shots and stuff like that, or taking your testosterone, don't worry about it. Just get back on track when you can. In fact, I don't think it's a bad thing. And my doctor has even mentioned that he's going to, I think it's at the 6 or 8 week, he wants me to take my first week off, just to balance the body a little bit. Now, with that said, you got a plan. And I ran into this little issue. So I'm on 4 injections. Now, I'm not microdosing right now. For those of you that don't understand, microdosing is splitting your dose up throughout the week. I'm sticking to what the doctor wrote for me, where I'm taking my single injection once a week, and I'm seeing how I perform. At some point, I'm pretty convinced based on my own studies, and after I talk to my doctor a little bit more, I will go to microdosing. But at this point, I'm just using the one dose. So what that means is in a 30-day window, if you will, I get 4 shots that I take, and it's a 28-day period, if you will. With that, you have to plan with your pharmacies. Simple things such as, do you have enough supplies? Like to draw out my testosterone out of my vial, I have an 18 gauge needle, and I inject with a 23 gauge needle. The 18 gauge I really like because it comes out of the vial easy, and I'm not trying to pull out with that syringe. And then I put the injection needle on to take the prescription. Now, what's important about that is when I bought my prescriptions and I got my syringes, I didn't pay attention to the ones that I used to draw the medicine out of the vial. And so I have to buy new ones. So I talk to my pharmacist, and they say, well, we can't just sell them to you. Now, pardon my ignorance.
Yeah.
So you have to plan for that. If you don't have a prescription for those needles on file with the pharmacy I'm using, and check with your pharmacy, you have to make sure you have that stuff available. The other thing is, I called my second prescriptions in quite a few days ahead of time. And when I went to pick it up, I just made the assumption I could go get it, but that's not the case. I have a time frame on what they are going to. I don't know if it's their policy or if it's a federal rule. I haven't looked that far in.
It's how the doctor writes the prescription.
Maybe that's what it is. They will only give me a certain amount every 30 days. So if I'm in that window to where they figured it out in the computer, they said, oh, you got to be here on this day to pick it up, which was before I took my prescription. But they showed me what I have to do so that I know I call it in on such and such a day. So when my first monthly injection is for the next series, I have it that day to go ahead and take my medicine. So you have to plan that out. So talk to your pharmacists, and they'll work with your clinic or your doctor however you want to do it. But plan this out. Make sure you have your supplies. Make sure you have your wipes, your alcohol wipes. Make sure you have the right syringes. Don't be sticking an 18 gauge into your muscles. It's going to hurt like hell. Make sure you're using the right stuff. Your doctors will educate you, but just make sure you take the time to speak to your pharmacist and your doctor.
Yeah, and you guys find a specialist who specializes in hormones. You know, if you're watching this or you're listening to this, you're probably on YouTube. So there's a lot of really good TRT doctors and information on YouTube that you can just search it and find some really good stuff with some very knowledgeable specialists in this field. And, you know, you're right about the planning. You can't just go buy these pins, at the grocery store. They watch and monitor everything so that people don't take more than what they're supposed to take. So really glad to hear the update, Brian, and I can't wait to hear the next one on this. So thanks for the update, and we will talk to you soon.
I do have one thing I want to add before we shut down. Steve said something earlier. All you young guys, I'm not advocating this for the young guys. Do not start doing this stuff without testing your levels. I'm working with my doctor, my personal doctor, my age management doctor, which is a specialty clinic like Steve's explaining. And I've also picked up a third medical professional in a private clinic here locally that I'm sharing the information with so that we can educate people. So I'm using experts. I have zero guessing, and I'm not buying this from Big Joey at the gym.
Yeah, you young guys out there, hey, this can be a problem for some of you guys 30 or even younger. If you're having symptoms that we described earlier, get your testosterone checked. And that's a bummer if you have to get on something like this at such a young age, but it will make a difference in your health. So, all right, I appreciate those last little 2 cents, Brian. So we'll talk to you next time.
Thank you, everybody. Stay safe out there.